Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
7 game weeks down, James, and we're into another international break. So time to have a little bit
Yay.
of a breather. I'm actually quite, I wouldn't say grateful for this one. I'm glad that there's a little bit of an international break and a chance to regroup and think about what strategy is going to be and stuff right now, to be honest. I quite fancy a week off from FPL. It's been a bit of a
Off you go.
tear for 4 weeks. So yeah, I mean, this week wasn't as good as it has been going, but now it's chance to like, okay, cool. We're chunking it up into kind of blocks for the season. So this is like another 4 weeks done. Now let's plan for the next kind of stint all the way up to wild card, which will be about 5 weeks or so. So yeah. You want the break or you don't want a break?
Well, it's unusual for me to go into an international break and my team's just won. That's the first time that's happened in about 2 years, so that's made a nice change. Yeah, a little break from football, I think maybe, but yeah, none of us really enjoy these international breaks that play FPL, do we? You have another one in a month.
Cool. Well, that chunks it up a little bit, but yes, your weekend consisted of going up to Leeds. Good weekend overall.
Wet weekend, windy weekend, but
Listen.
so we'll take it.
I didn't watch your game. I watched obviously then I watched Arsenal where it didn't rain. I'm pretty sure it wasn't raining through the whole Arsenal game, or not that I could tell.
I actually got dripped on during the game.
Highlights later, and I felt so smug sitting here in Portugal, honestly, because we hit the beach at the weekend. But then I watched the highlights of the Manchester United game as well, and it was bucketing down there, and I was like, oh right, yes, it's actually October right now. And it's miserable and wet and windy everywhere because it doesn't feel it here. I didn't envy you at all when I saw the conditions.
To be honest, we were relatively lucky with the weather. I have to say, just clarity in terms of me being dripped on, I was like 5 rows from the back of the away end. Right. And I've obviously got a roof over my head.
Ellen Road aging a little bit?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. They are going to do it, aren't they? So...
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's if they stay up in the Premier League, I think they'll be much more willing and open to obviously spend the money on the stadium.
Yeah, what I saw at the weekend, they've got a chance of doing it. I think they're going to do the stadium either way, I think. Listen, if they go down, they'll come back. Yeah,
no doubt. So good. They're into that yo-yo phase, but maybe they'll stabilise. Let's see. James, you beat me this week in FPL by a whopping 3 points. I think we both didn't do the best this week, around 4 million game week rank. I feel like from what I've seen online and people that I've spoken to and friends, wildcarders did particularly well this week into the 80s and 90s as well with some people. This was the week that some people who did wildcard did quite well.
Yeah, and Dyer scoring.
Arsenal double defence for a lot of people.
Pointer, I think. Yeah, the Arsenal players, anyone who went Saka, I guess. Those were Kudus.
Semenyo's already highly owned, obviously.
Yeah, but you see plenty of teams without him. And it's like, oh, everyone's got him. And you know there's 20% sitting out there going, I don't.
Yeah.
And the problem is he's overperforming his data so well. I can understand, and fixtures about to get tougher. I can understand people who are not on. Like,
his EO was around 70%.
When they played Leeds, I kind of said it almost felt like it was last time to buy. Clearly, that should have been play Fulham. But yeah, if you're not a Semenyo owner now, I can understand why you keep taking it on with what they've got next. Mind you, it might depend on who's in charge of Nottingham Forest come game week 9, maybe.
Yeah, and obviously Haaland captaincy EO was basically 200% as well. If you don't own him now, who are you? But the vast majority do.
Again, though, it's like you've let 2 of the best fixtures go. Do you go and chase it now?
If he goes off, it hurts. This is where the ownership kind of ends up becoming a problem. If he goes off,
been the case. If you don't own Haaland or Salah and they're well owned and they go off, yeah, of course it's going to hurt.
And it is.
Would you definitively look at game week 8 and say Haaland's fixture is that much better than Salah's?
I look at the points total for this season so far and I say it's definitely better than Salah's. You've got Haaland on 70, Semenyo 66, and then the drop to the third highest scoring player in the entire game in during Timber is 48 points. Then Gabriel at your 40s and whatever else. So the gap between all of those guys and then Semenyo and Haaland is so big. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable taking it on. Like if I didn't own Haaland, I had problems to fix. I'd consider wildcarding to get him in.
Oh, bless you, boss. If I didn't have Haaland at the moment, I'm not sure I'd be chasing it over the next few weeks, particularly if I still had the wild card in pocket. I mean, Salah's next to is better than Haaland. Yeah, but James, but Salah this and Salah that. Yeah, I know. I'm not popping into Mo Salah before he plays Manchester United. I've been down this route before.
He had a few good chances, which on another day Mo Salah cuts onto his left foot and puts it away. You know, so it's not like the chances aren't there for him. Yeah.
No, go on then. Who performed well for you this week? 65 you got, didn't you?
Obviously Haaland captain, Semenyo, Pedro Porro with the DEFCON and a little bit of bonus, and the assist as well, wasn't it, for the first goal, and Gabriel. That was it. Literally nothing else. I had Sales in goal. I don't know if you want to count a save point as as a
considering
win.
my goalkeeper scored an own goal. Yeah.
Yeah, true. That was a bizarre own goal, wasn't it? Van Dijk, Anderson, Reinders, Bruno Fernandes, Gyokeres, Jared Bowen, all nothing. But yeah, Semenyo and Haaland between them, well over half my score. But I don't feel any particular big issues within the team at the moment, so that's a blessing. Actually, sorry, let me correct that. There's one issue, and it's called Big Ange and Nottingham Forest having Sales and Anderson. Don't like it, but
that's the first time Anderson hasn't hit DEFCON, isn't it?
Yeah, Anderson less worried about, but Sales I don't like in goal anymore. But apart from that, there's no injuries or fires to put out or what have you.
I mean, if I gave you 3 points for him every week moving forward so you could deal with it, would you take that?
No, I'd probably just make the move to Raya now, to be honest with you. I've got the money in the bank to get it done.
Okay. I mean, if it's for free, I'm not going to argue against that, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's international break. I'm not making a move like that early at all. But I don't have the money to go from Fernandes to Saka, for example. So question is whether or not I will actually find a way to get to Bukayo Saka and whether I really want to force that. So is just doing sales to Raya the safest, easiest option?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next, actually. Moving into Gamweek 8, I certainly want to kind of take a break from it mentally this week till the internationals are gone. Yeah, it's kind of Arsenal, Chelsea players on agenda and radar for me. I think primarily Arsenal, particularly as well, if Raul Jimenez isn't back for Fulham for that fixture, then you do look at it and think, I can see that being another clean sheet at Fulham. I mean, you can anyway. I scored 68 this week. Similar story to you. Porro, Gabriel, Semenyo, Haaland captain. What's edged me above you this week was Cody Gakpo's goal. Yep. Awesome assist from Alexander Isak for that goal. And kind of a couple of quiet positives this week in the sense Lucas Perry was back in training for Leeds. So they walk into Burnley in game week 8. And I think on what I saw at the weekend, Perry will probably go back in goal. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka going straight in the Arsenal team.
Started,
I told you.
Well, West Ham team for Arsenal.
The West Ham team at Arsenal. Yeah, I don't think he'd get in that Arsenal team, to be fair. He's possibly really handy for me, just in the sense West Ham do have some good fixtures coming up. Now Nuno's in charge. Yeah, I mean, I've got Wan-Bissaka in the bus team for game week 8 at home to Brentford as it stands. To West Ham, Suj. Probably lost my mind, don't
I? Well, you and me both, James, because I've bust Diofin. And Bowen. So we've both got 2 West Ham for that game. We'll talk about the pre-season friendly game at the Emirates this weekend that took place for Arsenal, or training game, whichever you want to call it, when we get to discussing the games. But it didn't put me off playing the West Ham boys at home to Brentford. So yeah, that's fine. There was a moment, James, probably around before Pedro Porro's assist, that I could not wait to bomb him out of my team. I was thinking, do you know what, here, after you'd lost the clean sheet, I thought I'm Porro here for me, wasting money. By the end of the game, I was like, yes, thank you very much. I licked my lips with that 7-pointer.
See,
He's going to
FPL
frustrate,
mistake
right?
that. You're being influenced by points, mate.
Well, I still may bin him out, but he's not a problem for me right now. You've got Aston Villa at home, then Everton away. I could hold him for a couple more. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a bit, but our position in that league table is very, very forced at the moment.
Yep. Cool. Should we talk about some of these games, or do you want to give a wrap of the schedule for the week, because we've got all sorts for international break lined up?
Yeah, can do. Still a fairly busy week. Clayton's with me tomorrow for the Clayton and James show, making a bit of a brief comeback during the interlull. Hopefully definitely this week. Hopefully next week as well. So Clayton and James tomorrow. Clash of Correspondence Wednesday is Brighton versus Newcastle with Sam Murray and Simon Bibby. Also got Forest versus Chelsea next week with Mark Southerns and Gary Mansell. Ask James Thursday, scheduled for 12 p.m. UK time. David will be back with me for the weekender on Friday. And David's also featuring on something quite interesting, which I can't really give the game away yet, but something interesting we're doing on Friday on Patreon around picking an all-time World Cup team, but with a little bit of a twist that our patrons will be able to get involved with. Also on Patreon this week, Q&A today. Angus McPhail's hosting a quiz for me tomorrow on La Liga and Premier League players. I think players who've played in both leagues. Tottenham Wednesday, Money in Football Thursday. I said that pod with David on Friday. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. You can access no ad podcasts from basic tier, access to Slack and my planner, which will be getting FDR updates over the course of these 2 weeks from basic plus, all the podcasts, medium, intermediate plus, and all the additional advanced tier content with myself as well this week at advanced level.
Nice. Me and Nico recording this week some advanced tier content as well. Looking forward to that, because he's coming to visit me.
He said, hang on, bonus Nico's corner with Suj on Friday. How am I meant to do that? I said, that's your problem. It's Suj's idea.
We'll get it out. At least audio. Audio's easy enough to do. Video editing.
No. It's been advertised as videos, so I suggest get your speedos on and stuff, mate. Yeah.
We'll just go live. Solves everybody's problems.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get into the games, James. You've pitched Patreon perfectly there. And there was Friday night football. Bournemouth leaving it late and coming back to comfortably in the end beat Fulham 3-1 off, going down to Sessegnon's goal. Antoine Semenyo, what a guy. What a guy. Like, his finishing now is just on point, isn't it? The way he took his first goal, the way he finished his second goal, even Kluivert's goal.
I liked his interview afterwards. We spoke about the first goal, and obviously his mind must go so quick. He looks like he's going to run the ball out of play, takes a touch, keeps it inside, looks up, can't see anything. I'm going to shoot, and says he might be blagging it, but he's like, yeah, I've gone from between the legs. It was the only way I thought I could score. And I loved the finish for the last goal, because I'm telling you, a year ago, that's foot through it, mate.
Yep.
Now
Smashes
he's there. He's calm. Open out his body. Side foot. He's still with power, but you don't have to put your laces through that, mate. Side foot it. Yeah, he's moving towards an elite level. And actually, I think he's probably, for a lot of people at this moment, from a fantasy perspective, beginning to feel like this year's Brian Boomer. That it's just hitting the points. There's an overperformance.
He's a good analogy, to be fair. Yeah,
I think it feels like that at the moment. Like, there's other ones like, oh, who's going to be this year's Chris Wood? Like, feels difficult to gauge at the moment. Semenyo feels like he could be kind of like top 5 FPL point scorer this season. He plays for a very good team. He's the standout FPL asset within that team. I mean, 0.9 up on value since the start of the season is insane.
Do you think he's getting to the point where you'd feel comfortable to captain him? Like, take that Forest at home fixture in a couple of game weeks' time. Now, there's talk about Big Ange having to have meetings with the ownership at Nottingham Forest, and who knows if he'll still be there, because their start under him has been horrendous. But let's say he is. Would you feel comfy captaining Semenyo at any given time?
You'd have to say he's a contender for game week 9, wouldn't you? Subject to who's in charge. I don't think I would if Forest have a different manager. Haaland away to Villa, Salah away to Brentford. They don't scream. probably would have in pre-season. You'd probably put a ring round Palmer versus Sunderland. I don't think he's going to be available, especially judging by. Did you see Hato jumping into him
No.
after the game? He like
Oh.
did kind of like the shoulder bump into him, and how quickly Palmer goes to feel his groin. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, not great. Um, yeah, you could. I mean, I wouldn't this week. Palace away
No, no, no,
in game
no.
week
It's
8, and
specifically there'd be specific fixtures where you would think, okay, he's a decent alternative, but his consistency is really good, and that's the point at which you got to start thinking, well, is he captainable? He's only blanked once this season.
yeah, and I was there.
Newcastle, obviously, if you count the DEFCON and clean sheet point, I
Yeah,
don't
you
think
take it.
Yeah.
I mean, the game he blanked in, I was there, and I can tell you, I don't know how. But then the flip of that is you'd have to say, yeah, there's a massive overperformance. But I'd still look at his expected goal involvement at kind of like over zero point 0.5 per game as still being extremely healthy. And with him as well, the variety is now beginning to show. I don't think, in terms of his actual shooting, I don't think we should be surprised that he's overperforming. And I think he'll probably continue to overperform. Not to the extent of quite what he's been. And I don't look at him and feel, oh, you've got to own him for like Palace away next and City away and Villa away are two of the next four as well. I don't quite feel like that.
Like Forest at home and West Ham at home.
Those who don't own, it's like you just keep doubling down. I think probably yes. I don't think you could. Oh, is Palace away next? I have to own him. It's just chasing it now, isn't it? You probably wait. Forest at home, if Ange's still there, probably will feel a bit scary.
Hmm.
But yeah, for owners who don't have, arguably leave it. But yeah, I'm pleased that I'm on. It's strange how it works out, isn't it? It's like if Ismaila Sarr hadn't got injured later on in that game against Villa, I might be one of them sitting there now going, I don't own him. Every chance. So strange how it works out sometimes. No DEFCONs.
Yeah, what happened? And also didn't play the 90 minutes, Senesi.
Yeah, well, Iraola deserves a bit of credit. Well, in fact, more than a bit of credit for kind of changing the system and going a bit rogue and kind of going with a back three and a high man-to-man press from the point they were 1-0 down. The game, I mean, for those who didn't see the game, quite how this ended up 3-1, I don't know, because, I mean, that first half was like pull your eyelid stuff. It wasn't great. And I think that's probably compliments to Fulham, considering they've gone there with no Munez, no Jimenez, played Josh King basically as like the 9 with Wilson to the right and Iwobi either side of him. I didn't think Harry Wilson had a particularly good game. They changed to a back three. So Sessegnon and Castagno played as the wing backs. Issa Diop came into the team. And the goal when Fulham got it kind of felt like it came out of nothing, basically. But you could have seen them winning from that point. And it's worth saying the goals Bournemouth score are a joke. I mean, Semenyo's individual goal is incredible. Semenyo, when you're running hot for FPL, you're running hot, aren't you? He gives Kud've the ball in the centre circle, and Kud've, very similar to one of the goals he got at Newcastle last year. But the flip of that is when Bournemouth counter for the third goal, watch Semenyo's break to do that in the 90th minute with the power he's got to.
Yeah.
Well, when the ball gets played into Doak on the right hand side, Semenyo's like just leaving the penalty area. I mean, that's an 80-yard sprint.
The thing is, Evan Nilsson was up there with him as well. So
yeah, and he goes past him.
But if Semenyo hadn't been there, maybe Doak could have played it into Evan Nilsson instead. But
I think Evan Nilsson probably would have scored instead. But Semenyo he's at that level now. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna have
Give me
this,
more.
aren't I? So Kluivert was left out of the team again. As I said last week, they changed the system a little bit at Leeds to bring like Kluivert, Christie back into the team, and they kind of went back to what had been working previously. So Tavernier more of a 10, kind of left-sided 10. Alex Scott sitting in, but with license to go on to the right of Tyler Adams. They're a good side, Bournemouth. Give anybody a game. I'm concerned for Fulham if Jimenez is going to be out for a while, which we don't know yet. The indication on Rodrigo Muniz was like no chance for after the international break. Marco Silva teams have to have a number 9 basically to function properly. So if he doesn't have one, I think he'll probably stay with back 3 again for Arsenal, which might make Arsenal's wide players like Saka maybe a little less appealing for that sort of game. But then you go, hey, look at what Semenyo's just done. Yeah, I hear you.
Well, we talk about Arsenal in a minute and their ability to manipulate those kind of fullback and wide areas.
I think just on Senesi, the fact that Fulham didn't play a 9, I think played into
him
the
coming
fact
off.
that he's missed out. So he wasn't going to get up to it anyway.
Right.
I don't think. He was on 7. He may have done. Diakite finished on 8. I wouldn't, for owners, I wouldn't be concerned that he was taken off. It really was like a system change, and it's no doubt Nick's first choice for Bournemouth. Joachim Anderson with nice DEFCON return again, 15. Always likely as playing as the middle of the back three in a fixture like that, I think. Yeah, game was a bit like the weather, bit shit.
Let's talk about Leeds 1, Tottenham 1. Would you call it?
I know we were bad, but can you give me a 2?
2. Apologies, 2. Do you know what? I'm looking at your XG being just about half. Leeds racking up 4 big chances to your 1, and having more of the ball. This has been a kind of conversation for a little while now. You're not playing very well, are you?
I didn't really have the art to tell my dad much on the way home, even though he was standing next to me because he was really happy. And if you win away from home, you're always happy. But
yeah, take it. Do you know, even against us when you came and beat us, right? The first half, you weren't particularly happy with the performance, but take the points and run because
I'm taking them, and I went home happy.
You're still top 4, but yeah, the underlying, you've got the performance against Bodo that you weren't particularly happy with, and even the league performances.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't great. We had one outstanding performer on the pitch in Mohammed Kudus, who, for those who've owned, and you will have heard me regularly say, doesn't look like scoring. That has changed over the last couple of games, where I think there's an effort to get him into more central zones, like where he scores the goal from. And also, more importantly, the one where he missed the chance in the first half, right? That's in a more central area. And we saw him have the headed chance against Wolves that he should have scored as well. So that's positive. But then if you compare like his expected goal involvement per 90 with, say, Semenyo, like Semenyo's 3 times Kudus.
Yeah.
But Kudus is providing more in terms of expected assists. Pretty much the way it sits with Kudus at the moment, I mean, he's already our best player. If he don't play well, we ain't going to win football matches.
Do you think it's as simple as that?
I don't think, I've spoken in the past about certain players, teams can't function without certain players. I think with him now, he's become so integral and so important in terms of his link, his creativity, his threat, his ball carrying, his strength, all of it rolled into one. He's become our most important player, certainly in an attacking sense. And I'm not sure for those, I wouldn't chase him to buy. I've actually got Tottenham bottom my ticker over the next 5.
Yeah, I don't like your fixtures. That's what puts me off. Is a decent price though.
But I don't think if I owned him, I wouldn't be running from him for the next 2, at least. I don't think. Villa at home and Everton away. I think I'd hold for that. Everton have got issues in terms of the fullback areas. I think Everton fans would tell you that. Villa at home still okay.
His ownership is 32%. That's not small for Mohammed Kudus.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably one of the biggest impacts for me not having a green arrow this week, which is fine. I'll take that every week for the rest of my life. Yeah, he's a top player. He's a really, really good player. One flip I would say with him in terms of doesn't look like he's going to score that often, and we should note that essentially his goal and assist are efforts that both are deflected, obviously in.
Yep.
But he's so key and important. Like I said, it feels like we're going to really struggle if he doesn't play well. So he is going to be in and around stuff. I think he's completed like 15 more dribbles than any other player in the league this season.
But that's
you
normal.
Always give out. Yeah.
That's been the way for quite a while. I think there's something to be said for him being able to be the man at Tottenham, whereas at West Ham there's always Jared Bowen or Paqueta, and he was in and out of the team. If he can keep this consistency and end product, then there's never been any doubt on the player. But he is a confidence player, and probably thrives off being the man there now and taking responsibility for everything. If I was wildcarding, I probably still wouldn't go there. The other thing is like, it's a long way away to AFCON. I get it. It's like it's still
don't go
9 weeks. Oh, Ghana not qualified.
Yeah, so him and Semenyo stay, mate.
Oh, lovely. Okay, well then maybe reconsider that. I always had in the back of my mind because it's going to be an AFCON issue. Yep. Oh, tidy. Tidy. Well, in that case, ignore what I was going to say that put me off. But at the fixtures that you mentioned after the Arsenal game, maybe it's one to revisit, because then you've got kind of Fulham, Brentford, Forest
Yeah,
at
but
that time.
we spoke about this like a few weeks ago on one, I think on the Chip Talk pod, about those two games are an absolute nightmare for Tottenham in terms of the schedule. You might not even get him in those sort of games. Like he could genuinely be left out, I think, for one of those two home games. In fact, he probably will be.
Are you
And that's ages away.
interested in keeping any defensive? I mean, you own Porro like me. Van der Ven's obviously got very high ownership as well.
Yeah, it's not beyond reason that I move, say, Porro to Saliba. It doesn't quite feel right with us at home and them away. It's like, and Saliba's not the biggest goal threat, is he? I mean, Saliba could be Timber, whatever, take your pick. That's the sort of move I can make to add an extra Arsenal this week. And I'm definitely not sitting there thinking, oh, I've got to keep Pedro. But I also know that he can have days like this and he'll probably tick over okay. Again, he's another one, right? It's so much because the ball progression in midfield is so shy. He's got to be more adventurous in what he's doing. So you can end up with returns like this. I mean, essentially, he's played he's got an assist from his own half, right?
Yep.
Is what we're talking about here. He wouldn't even got that under the old rules. But Kudus is clearly the intended target of that pass, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be chasing any Tottenham. Kudus is fine to hold. Porro is fine to hold. The rest, if I owned anything else, I'd be looking to move that on. I think, especially Richarlison.
Any leads of interest for you at the moment?
I mean, Rodon should have scored. Hit the post at 0-0. Should have scored. They played a riot. Like this game easily could have been 2-1 the other way. I would say that there was a couple of chances in the game that massively inflated the XG for them. Like the goal in itself. I mean, Okafor's is like 0.8 XG. You obviously can't miss. He was okay, Okafor. I was kind of relatively pleased when he went off. From a fantasy perspective, not particularly, no. They do have a few good games coming up. Burnley away, West Ham at home. So if those want to set up with an enabling forward like Calvert-Lewin, I don't mind that. I don't think you'd be punting into Okafor or Aronson. I think Longstaff and Stack are both reasonable from a midfield perspective. Ampadu started picking up a few DEFCONs as well, 13 in this one. Defensively, Rodon or Goodmanson, you can toss a coin. I do think, as I said, I think Perry will probably come back in goal. I think what happens on Matisse Tell's goal, obviously it takes a deflection and it ends up, it's a weird one to say this, I think it ends up too close to his face. Like where it goes, where he has to save it is too close to his face. So
yeah, possibly.
It's like, if it was like a foot to the left, it becomes quite an easy save. It almost goes in between his head and his face, and I realised the difficulty of it taking a deflection. It's
head
a very
in his face
strange
or hand
one
in his face?
where
Because head and face would be quite difficult, James.
He's quite awkward to get his hand like straight in front of his face. I don't know.
All right,
but I think Perry, I think, will go back in goal after the break. Really pleased for Tell to get his goal. One interesting aspect of that, he's obviously had a lot of criticism, particularly from within Tottenham circles. He's a young player. He's very willing. It's a sort of goal, Richarlison or Solanke don't score it. I don't think they score from that. So I realise it takes a deflection.
But yeah, well, you think they wouldn't get the shot off, or they wouldn't have the ability to put it away?
If Solanke got his shot off from that angle, he's definitely going low and going to the far post.
Okay. And Richarlison?
Something altogether different. Richarlison is a pretty easy sell, I think, if you own.
Yeah.
He didn't surprise me that he didn't start. I'd warned people. I said, look, I think he's about 80% to start. But I'd said if it wasn't an international break afterwards, that I really didn't think he would start. But it was like, what's the worth to Tottenham in terms of holding him back? It will be about his recovery because he's just played 2 previous 90 minutes. So Villa at home after the break, it's a Sunday. So he probably does play. But then your headache just continues afterwards, where he's going to have to get
so many
rotated.
good striker options available as well right now.
Kolo Muani, we think, will be available after the break. Clearly, Tottenham are going to have to build him up. But I mean, the fixture schedule for Tottenham is mental on the other side of the break. So Porro is okay to hold. Kudus is okay to hold. Anything else I owned, I'd be binning. It's still the same. Ultimately, we've won this game because of 2 deflected shots from distance. The creativity is on the floor. Xavi Simons played okay. He had one. Have you seen the Rabona attempt?
Yep.
that nearly led to Leeds scoring.
Uh, from Xavi.
Yeah.
No,
You haven't seen it.
no.
Oh dear. Yeah, really bad. But he played okay. He links well. We look way more creative with him on the team, but he's got to be a bit quicker in his actions in terms of releasing the ball because he has speed around with him. Just a note as well, it's not one particularly for fantasy. It might be for Brennan Johnson owners. But Wilson Odobert, I think, started 4 of the last 5 now, off the left. And I thought he played pretty well on Saturday. He will, I think, retain that place until a Mawani or Richarlison is probably going to threaten him on the left. If you are still sitting there with Brennan Johnson, please deal with that.
Okay. Right. Let's talk about Arsenal 2, West Ham nil. I mean, there really isn't a lot to talk about in terms of like what did we learn? We learned nothing, if I'm honest with you. We learned that Arsenal are just levels above anything that we could offer. And I don't think we had a shot in target in the whole game. They just controlled the whole game. And yeah, we're just solid. I think the only reason look, West Ham worked hard, right? I'm not going to fault the players here because they tried and they defended better, and we didn't concede a goal from a corner. And the work rate of the players was fine. Like we did make it a little bit hard for them, but they didn't have to get out of third gear, to be honest with you. So they cruised, and we were just not good enough, and that's what you get, a 2-0 outcome. But they're just, yeah, we are not playing Arsenal every week, put it that way. So that's why when we talk about Brentford, the home game against Brentford, like I think the mentality and everything going into it is just going to be so different. But yeah, this game was easy work for Arsenal, and yeah. They're good, man. I think what they really did well was get Timber and Calafiori as high as possible. They just weren't scared of us on the counter, really. And Timber pushing forward on the right nullified Somerville quite a lot, who still happened to be our best player, but Somerville was as worried about losing Timber going the other way to support Saka and stuff, as he was like trying to make him defend. And in the end, that's where obviously one of the goals comes from. Yeah, Arsenal are just too good, man. Too good at the moment. I looked at their substitutions and it probably weakened their team. You've got Lewis Skelly, Nwaneri, Marino,
get a vodka
and Martinelli,
and Coke or something a little bit stronger, please.
Coming on for Eze, Rice, Trossard, Calafiori, and I look at it and I'm like, it probably is a bit weaker, but like. It's a joke.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
Good.
It's
yeah,
a joke.
Right,
it's
great.
a joke.
Yeah,
we're bringing on like Callum Marshall and Freddie Potts. It's good to see the young boys get a game, right? But when you look at what they're bringing off the bench and stuff, when they're ready 2-0 up, it's levels, mate. It was a training game. It was pleasant to watch, but I didn't learn anything. Some people might think we learned that Saka's on pens. But then there's other people that are now saying, look, it was his 200th game. It was going to be his 100th goal involvement. So maybe he took it. I don't think we can learn anything.
I love the reaction in the community. I told you so. We have said that they'll probably keep flipping it and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I would bet that if Arsenal's next penalty comes and Gyokeres hasn't scored between now and then, that he'll take it.
Yep. Yeah, I think I like Timber. If you don't have the money, like I'd pick Gabriel, but then I'd pick Timber over Saliba if I was buying, and then maybe Raya, and then maybe Saliba. Saka, solid. You know what he can deliver. Gyokeres is still involved in stuff. Declan Rice is taking some set pieces and stuff. He's an interesting asset. I think they're all interesting. You know.
Yeah, with Timber, there's this kind of nagging doubt, isn't there? That like, he'll get rested at some point. But I guess
take the rough with the smooth with that in the end. You know, he's just when he plays, he's that good. That take the rough with the smooth.
He probably is a better asset than Saliba in terms of certainly offensively, and he's greater likelihood, and also he is capable, I think, of DEFCONs from the fullback position. He was only one short actually at the weekend. He's so physical, he gets so tight when he's playing against someone that he's capable of picking up some DEFCONs via that route as well. But it does nag away. You do look at Arsenal's schedule coming up and thinking, yeah, there's definitely one in there. He doesn't play. I keep trying to work out which one I think it is. I think the Burnley away game is probably the one because I think Sunderland are more physical and more of an aerial threat. I think than Burnley, particularly say if Ballard we'll talk about in a sec it plays in that particular fixture. I think most of the big hitters he'll want at Sunderland, particularly in game week 11. So then you think maybe it's Burnley in 10 because actually the spacing for between 8 and 9 is okay. So it's Fulham on the Saturday, then Palace is on the Sunday, and they've got it's Bayern in the middle, but it's on the Wednesday. So it's 4 day spacing. So he'll probably try and go with quite a bit of consistency, I think. Even Gabriel is liable for a break in something like Burnley away, subject to, I think, primarily how Hincapié's fitness is. They'll want to give him some minutes at some point. But then there's also a Carabao Cup tie around about that period as well. And you think, well, it's then, isn't it? That's when Hincapié and Bosquera will probably play and stuff. Yeah, they're strong. The Martin Odegaard stat is crazy. Went off after a clash of knees with Somerville.
Look painful.
He's gone off injured. It's unbelievable. He's gone off injured in the first half of all of Arsenal's home games this season in the Premier League.
Oh, wow. Really?
It's incredible.
That's mad.
How unlucky are you? It does sound not serious.
Yeah.
Declan Rice also asked to be withdrawn as well. Bit of a back complaint. I'm not saying that England are playing twice this week, but England are playing twice this week. So Adam Wharton might get the call up that me and Clayton want to discuss on the Clayton and James show anyway. Yeah, strong. What did you, I guess the main question to you, having watched the game, is what was your thoughts on Gyokeres?
Still involved with stuff. He'll still tick along nicely. I think he'll frustrate because in games like this against weaker opponents, you think you want something from him. He should. And I think it helps us. Like he's good for their system to have a number 9 that's really a number 9 rather than a Havertz or something like that that's kind of playing false 9 or pretending to be a number 9. So yeah, I think he's right. I'm not put off by putting him in there because I put him in there not for one game, right? I put him in there for the run of fixtures they've got. We've now got Fulham, Palace, Burnley, Sunderland. At the end of that, let's say he picks me up I'll add Tottenham in there. If he only picks me up 2 returns over those 5 games, I'll be disappointed. I'd want to be at like 4 or 5 returns from those games. He's still capable. I'm not concerned about it. I've just bought him. You can't be buying a player like that for a run like that and then getting cold feet after one game. It just means that you not made the wrong decision, but you didn't really think through your decision properly if you're going to panic after one game.
Unless you've got an Arsenal player who's injured or you don't think it's going to play, I had no idea why you would sell that right now.
Yeah, no. I've got no reason to.
There's a case that, I mean, if I was on wildcard now, again, it's probably something we'll discuss long before we get to the next deadline. But in terms of forwards under consideration for me at the moment, João Pedro, Bowen, Gyokeres, Haaland, make a case for Voltemade. That's it.
Voltemade, yeah.
Or like I said, if you want to go with an enabling one like Calvert-Lewin, fine. But those would be the consideration for me at the moment. And if I was on wildcard and didn't go Gyokeres at the moment, it's only because I'd be going Saka and double defence.
Yeah, makes sense.
I definitely would not be selling him and I wouldn't be flipping him to, panic, Saka's on pens. I really would. Saka may well take the next pen. I would not be bothering with that at all, personally. In terms of a swap, you want to get Saka by all means, because I'm thinking about doing it. I can't go Fernandes to Saka in one move. I'm not desperate to get rid of Bruno, by the way. But I do look at things like, maybe from the fixture perspective for me, who wants the wild card in 13, Gakpo to Enzo Fernandez, for example, and then Fernandes to Saka for a -4. That sort of move might appeal. But it doesn't, they're both away. It doesn't feel right. If I got to Gakpo at Anfield is good.
Look, you'll remember, James, my free hit team that I sent you before we did the weekender on Friday, and you asked me, "Are you sure?" Right? Thinking, well, who am I picking? What am I picking? I picked 2 of the lesser Arsenal players in Timber and Rice over, let's say, Gabriel and Saka. And they've both returned like 11 pointers. So with Arsenal players, including Gyokeres, all of them at any time. Like Eze looked good. Trossard, he's really annoying, isn't he? He's just an annoying character. But
Trossard needs to first dye his hair He's standing out. He looks good, fair game. But he's starting a lot recently. I think consequence concern is like for me to be interested in Eze, I think I need Odegaard to be badly injured.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. You just got to think about this logically. Zubimendi is looking really, really important to Arsenal. Clearly, they're going to want Declan Rice in there for most games. So to get Eze and Odegaard in the team together, it's Eze left, isn't it?
Yep.
It's not to say Eze is not necessarily going to get favouritism of Odegaard, but I know a lot of people saying about Odegaard's performance against Olympiacos in midweek. I didn't watch it, but saying he looked like he was really on it, wanted to boss it, wanted to show that he was still part of the best 11 and stuff. So, I mean, if you're on wildcard, you definitely want to go free Arsenal. For me, it's double defence and then take your pick between Saka and Gyökeres.
Yep.
Would be my viewpoint.
The double defence would be Gabriel and Timber. But if you want to make it the goalkeeper because you've got other defenders you want,
I wanted to ask you a couple of West Ham questions.
Sure.
Somerville versus Paquetá, if someone's looking. Don't just say Bowen. I know that's the answer.
There is a price difference between the two.
Yeah. One's got penalties and one's capable of DEFCONs as well. Although, actually, they're both Paquetá and Somerville, both 11 DEFCONs at the weekend.
But I think that's an anomaly that Somerville had been told you need to man-to-man Timber. And so Timber bombing forward, Somerville was his guy that was constantly trying to keep on top of him. Oh, James, I'm going to say Paquetá because of the penalties and DEFCONs. We haven't seen enough out. But Somerville has been our best player last 2 games. I think he's been voted player of the match last 2 games. He's got no attacking returns in any of them. It's that substitute appearance against Forest where he picked up 2 in the last 10 minutes assists. That's all he's got all season. So you're going to have to say Paquetá.
Any love for Fulcook?
0.
Okay. Wan-Bissaka to play now again?
Yep.
Okay. Kilman, I said after the Everton game, not surprised Nuno's in and he's picked up DEFCON. He didn't at the weekend. But Mavropanos hit 20.
Yeah, I mean, he was lively. Kilman was only one off. He was on 9. So,
I know the answer already. If we say to you invest in a West Ham defensive one, you're going to say Diouf, yeah? Yeah. He had a difficult game, but again, what do you read into playing against Arsenal? That they're that good at the moment, so he'll be fine. I'd say Diouf, yeah. Areola to stay in goal?
Yep.
Okay. Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home is the next 4. That's why this is a conversation.
Yeah, it's a decent run.
Do you think the protests will still go ahead in the way that they're planned for the Brentford game?
Yes. Yeah, probably maybe not as big as it would have been had Potter been in charge, but I still think there'll be protests under the lights of a Brentford game.
Because that game week 8 isn't great for fixtures. Are you giving any thoughts caps in Bowen?
No.
Is he your vice?
No. As it stands at the moment, I haven't set up my bus team, James, but the likelihood is going to be Haaland at home.
Who even are you? It's Monday.
Haaland at home. I've got the vice on Gyokeres, Fulham away. Yeah, same as this week, basically. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah,
might Bowen be a safer call from that perspective? As in known minutes.
Yeah, but the upside for either a City or Arsenal player is just way bigger. I'd even go Semenyo's Palace away. They have just conceded 2 goals, Palace.
Yeah, I'll be captain Haaland.
No, it's Haaland.
As long as he's fit.
Yeah.
But I do have the vice on Bowen.
Okay, for me, Gyokeres.
Okay. DEFCONs. Can we give a shout out to Dan Ballard?
Okay.
For Manchester United 2, Sunderland 0, segue. 19 DEFCONs.
That's not the biggest this season so far. Oh, okay.
He came on in the 37th minute.
Yeah, okay, fair play. That's a lot. He would have been on for a hell of a lot more. That's a lot. That's exactly a lot.
And that's why he never got the 4.0 price, guys. Yeah, fairly straightforward win for Manchester United. They started with intent.
Yeah, you said Sunderland did have a few chances. It wasn't.
They at least have one good one
had a few shots on target. Unlike West Ham, at least they made the keeper work a little bit.
Um, cut the takeaways for this, and I think these are FPL relevant for a lot of people. Dalot playing left wing back rather than Dorgu. That's a couple of times now we've had Dorgu, I feel like, in more straightforward home fixtures where you really do want to use him and he's not started. That's a bit annoying. I'm fairly certain that in these type of fixtures, Amorim will want to play Diallo at right wing back, which means the left wing back conundrum is always liable to flip, I think, between Dalot can play that side and Dorgu. So they're just a no-go zone, personally. The really intriguing one for me is about Mason Mount playing and Matthias Cunha not starting. And I think that dates back to something I've said in game week 1 about concerns. And I don't think Cunha will start at Liverpool either in game week 8. If Mason Mount's fit, I think it would be absolutely desperate to play him in that fixture. You've got Bumo who's looking lively. Sesko has now scored in a couple. He's not coming out the team now. I don't think Cunha starts at Liverpool for those who own.
Do you think it's
subject to
something you
injuries
mentioned
and
before,
whatnot, obviously,
which is like Mason Mount is more reliable tactically? Like
yes.
he'll listen to Amorim's instructions and deliver on exactly what he wants to do.
It's a regular question I've had from people, particularly towards the back end of last season. Why does he like Mason Mount so much? Trust him. Knows what he's going to get. He might not have the X factor of a Cunha. No one's saying Mount's a better player than Cunha or offers more at the top end. Scores a really nice goal, but he knows exactly what he's getting from the pressing side of things, particularly. And actually think as a consequence, when they press better, they're a better team. And actually, I think Mount has got a role to play as part of that. If I was a Cunha owner, I'd be looking to move that on.
Ahmad, any love for him at the moment or not so much?
Nah, I think the games like this, I mean, he looks a threat and he doesn't play wing back per se. Like he's, for him particularly, it does look more like winger, but it's a lot of it is ball carrying rather than in behind stuff. So you're relying on his quality from deeper positions rather than getting into, say, high XG positions. So a no. Defensively, I wouldn't be looking at the moment. I think the Lit is the one to keep an eye on. There is a small chance that Martinez might be back. I doubt he gets thrown straight in for the Liverpool game, but they'll be better in terms of their ball progression and defensive stuff, I think, once he's back in left-sided centre-back. And they may just generally be better in goal now that they've got the Lemon out of goal and a Lemon's in it instead. So I didn't see anything that made me think that Manchester United had bought like the second coming of Lev Yashin, but they seemed pretty happy with him at the weekend.
When the bar is that low, mate, I can understand where they're coming from. Let me ask you a question, James, which is Sunderland focused.
Yeah.
Would you play next week Alderete with Wolves at home?
Yeah.
Or Elliot Anderson with Chelsea at home?
Ultimately, Alderete is way more likely to hit you the big hole. So it's that.
Yeah, I thought the same. I'm like, okay, there's a possibility of a clean sheet here, and if he picks up the DEFCON and a bonus, then he could get me 12, 13 points. Do I see Elliot Anderson picking me up an attacking return? No. Every time I watch him, I think, you're decent and you're creating, but it's that frustrating piece where there's no end product. I don't know if Elliot Anderson's had any attacking returns yet this season, has he? Let's have a look.
The assist for Chris Wood, game week 1.
Yeah, that's it. From game week 1, nothing. Oh yes, the through ball that he played through. Yeah, Elliot Anderson, I'm a big fan of, but he's starting to frustrate me a little bit in FPL. I do see myself playing Alderete over him next game week.
It's a route to money. I see more and more people talking about investing in someone like Josh King.
Yeah,
just to move the money. I think the takeaway on Sunderland this, I think there's a bit of concern. They've had an amazing start and they're not going to be defined by losing at Old Trafford, despite what people think about United. And as said, they had a decent chance at 0-0, and I think they equipped themselves in the second half quite well. The vibe from the Sunderland fans on our Patreon is very much that moving forward in some of these more difficult games, that they may regularly be playing a back five, which might get Ballard into that back three, and as a consequence, might look at him 19 DEFCONs in essentially 55 minutes. Might eat up into some of the DEFCONs of Michele, who has hit it again, Alderete. That would probably be the back three under that circumstance. Reynaldo will probably come back in at left back / left wing back once he's come back from suspension. That's not 8, that'll be 9. It's Wolves at home next. I think they probably will play a back four against Wolves, but I wouldn't be surprised looking at their run of fixtures afterwards, like there's Chelsea away, Everton, Arsenal, Fulham away, if they go back three / back five afterwards. I think part of that as well is the injury to Diarra is quite a bit of a blow for them. We like it. We liked him, what we saw of him, didn't we?
Yep.
And it's left them a little bit lighter, I think, in midfield. Like Xhaka's going to be absolutely fine in terms of DEFCONs. They changed the team up quite a bit at the weekend with like Adingra coming in on the left. Traore played on the right. I don't think Sunderland have been too happy with, fans have been too happy with him as yet. So just a bit lighter now. And I think if they go to a back five, they can just kind of leave Xhaka and Siddiqui as a bit of a double pivot in midfield. And then you're looking at maybe 2 flyers either side of a number 9. I don't think Isidore's minutes particularly are safe moving forward either, with Mienda and Brobby we haven't seen much of as yet. So I think time to invest in Sunderland defensively now the fixtures have turned as gone. Xhaka falls into the defensive line of questioning. Absolutely fine. 13 DEFCONs again. And I think defensively, it's fine as well if you want to get him for DEFCONs. But after Wolves, I don't think there'd be too many weeks looking forward where you're like, I want to play them. You look at their fixtures after Wolves. Chelsea away, Everton at home, Arsenal at home, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool, Man City away, Newcastle at home, Brighton away, up to Leeds at home, game week 18. And after that, by the way, it's Man City and Tottenham afterwards. But they do look like they're going to be the best for DEFCONs, I think.
Cheap enablers, James. At the end of the day, like even when you're looking like an Alderete or Mukiele or whatever, remember they're cheap enablers. You're not going to play them most weeks, and if you just want them for a bench boost, then it could work.
But I think with these guys, rather than say your Rodons and your Esteves, I genuinely think you are fearing of leaving a hole on the bench with them guys.
Yeah, it's going to happen. This is just part of the game. Right. I'd rather have a 4 million defender that's hauling it on my bench than
I agree.
One that's not,
I
it
agree.
will sting a little, but
it leads to the temptation, doesn't it?
To play him, which I'm going to do next week.
Now, if I said to you now, they go and win 1-0 at Stamford Bridge in game week 9, there's a fair chance it's one of them defenders is scoring the goal
Absolutely.
as well.
Well, let's talk about Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. We had the question marks around who would play centre-back for Chelsea with the amount of injuries and suspensions they had. It's Ashamapong. That's a bad pronunciation, isn't it?
I was going to say anything, just let you continue because I'll butcher it as well, a champion.
And both go off with knocks. I mean, I asked you a question about Elliot Anderson, whether I should play him. Did Chelsea have any defenders? Is it going to be Caicedo dropping back to centre-back?
It won't matter now because Fofana's obviously missed out with concussion and Chalobah was out with suspension.
Was it only a one game for Chalobah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then
professional foul, 1 game, isn't it? So
less concern. Esteval, young boy, 95th minute, winner against Liverpool. That's emotion, isn't it? That's what you want.
Probably not the sort of goal you'd associate him scoring as well. It's a really nice link up from Enzo Fernandez and Cucurella. So a lot of people asking about selling Cucurella, and on my deadline stream or something. I don't know, with them fixtures afterwards, if I owned anything that was a good Chelsea asset, and you might say, he's overpriced at the moment, I'd be holding on to it. And that still definitely applies. If I was sitting there right now with Chalobah, Tosin, subject to his fitness, Sanchez, Cucurella, Fernandez, João Pedro, whatever that was, would not be selling at this moment. Even if Forest changed managers, I would not be changing that. So I'm a João Pedro owner. He's not going to go and play for Brazil. I think Casado's now not going to go and play for Ecuador either. I'd be holding on. Casado's. I mean, if you've got Casado, the fixtures are irrelevant anyway.
Yep.
In most circumstances, it's going to be play. But then that's another one. If you said to me, right, play Casado or Alderete in 8, as an example, I will tell you Alderete again. Because Casado he scored 2 incredible goals this season, Casado. Well, he's actually scored 3, but he scored 2 incredible goals.
2, yeah.
He might not score again this season, mate.
His XG this season's a half. So he's 6x his XG so far this season.
Which is like what you'd expect, right? You'd expect him to be knocking up at maybe 3 or 4 XG across the whole season or so. That's it. It is worth noting, though, that the quality of those strikes against Brentford and at the weekend, I mean, it's just a gorgeous goal he scores at the weekend.
Yep.
He's a top player. He's the player that they would miss most, I think. More so than missing Palmer now.
Yes. He's the player that the only thing I would say is if Lavia was fit, they could drop Lavia in, and he was the player that they would miss most when he was on form last season. So.
Lavia is great, but I think Caicedo is a different level.
There's no doubt about it, but I think they have a replacement there. Like we were talking about when Lavia played last season, Chelsea did better. Caicedo dropped to right back quite often when that was the case. So it's not like they haven't got a bit of depth in that area.
Yeah. Something interesting tactically again from Maresca against Liverpool. Not for the first time he's tried this. Something a little bit weird. And again, Malo Gusto in a really hyper position, right? So I think the team come out and it was, it's probably Reece James in midfield, isn't it? No, it wasn't. It was Malo Gusto in a real kind of starting high position. Reece James from right back. That changed later in the game. James obviously had to go to centre back and Gusto at right back. It's a great result for Chelsea because obviously had a couple of bad results coming into this. I can certainly understand all the emotion at the end of the game. And it's flipped for Liverpool, isn't it? Gone from always winning in the last minute to now always losing in the last minute.
3 in a row, 3 defeats in a row anyway.
The concerns with Liverpool aren't any different than what they were prior to this game. Actually, they played all right here. I think there are elements of them both in their build-up and in their pressing at the moment, so on and off the ball concerns, that are not right. But I think on a different day that they might have won this game. And ultimately, you ain't going to have many tougher away games this season than Chelsea. We're sitting here, they've lost 2 games. They've lost to Chelsea and they've lost to a Crystal Palace side that's been exceptional. They've also won at Newcastle. They've also beat Arsenal at home. They haven't had the best run of fixtures either. We do know with them that they are capable of going on a run. I suspect this break probably comes for them at the right time because what they need to do is sit down and analyse this. Because there are bits of play on terms of the basics that are not right. It's not just all Wirtz and Isak are coming into the team or Ekateke and everything's different. There are structural problems that don't feel quite right at the moment. Now, because they're so good and they've got so much talent, both individually and as a collective, they will overpower most teams still. No doubt. But the concerns I have for them are not any different to what I had prior to this game. And actually, they were probably a bit better on the whole at the weekend.
Okay. Should we
Salah,
move to...
we have to talk about.
Okay.
We can't just move on from it. Because I'm reading all sorts over the weekend. He's dusted as an asset. He's done as an FPL. I've been here before, man. I've been here before. Manchester United next. Yeah, I'll personally... Someone asked me at the weekend, would you move Salah to Saka at this moment? I said, well, look, you need the international break to obviously go and see how you feel about stuff. But I don't think you could tell me that Saka's next 2 are better than Salah's next 2.
So the thing is, there's 2 questions that people need to think about when they're talking about it, right? Is Salah a good asset in FPL? Will he score points? Is he good for goals and assists and that kind of thing? The answer is yes, because we've got such a long history of him doing it. There's a second question. Is Salah a good asset in FPL for 14.5 million? And so you can argue as much as you want about the first question. The answer is always going to be yes to that. The question you got to decide is the return for 14.5 million enough? And the answer to that question for me right now is no.
Agreed.
And that's the way to look at it. So if you've got 14.5 million because you have and you've got it spare and you already own Haaland, keep him. But if you're trying to spread that money, then it becomes a bit difficult to justify. That's kind of where my head is at right now with him.
I think for those on Salah, my advice to most would be hold for the next 2. I mean, I wouldn't invest at this point. I totally get that. If I moved Haaland out for whatever reason, in fact, let's do this a different way. If Haaland got injured in the international break, what would I do with the money? I wouldn't buy Salah.
No, definitely not.
I'd be going, right, let's go.
Saka, to be honest with you.
Gyökeres and Saka, probably. Like, genuinely, that's probably exactly what I would do. I'd go Haaland to Gyökeres and I'd go probably like Dewsbury Hall to Saka. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be to Salah, no. So I mean that speaks maybe, but I don't think that said, I don't think those who own at the moment should necessarily United at home, Brentford away, should necessarily come off. They're all potential games for Mo. And there are going to be, certain as well, there's going to be a group of people that are going to move. They're going to take the plunge, I think. It'll be a small at the moment minority. Will sell Haaland to go back to Salah in a couple of weeks. They'll have it as part of their plan and they'll stick to it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a plan and sticking to it.
Definitely not.
Yeah. For me, I will never discount Mo Salah because it's been season after season after season. But right now, the money is not worth it.
Would you go Van Dijk to Saliba?
Yes. Yes. And that basically is me saying I'd go Van Dijk to any Arsenal defensive.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
I tell you, the thing with Van Dijk is I always do think when Liverpool are playing all right, he's still got a good chance of picking me up at DEFCON, and he is a threat at set pieces. So there is always the opportunity that he will get me a goal. When he does neither, you're like, yeah, Liverpool aren't great right now. It's that recency bias influence. He picks up 7 DEFCONs at the weekend.
I just think ultimately selling any Liverpool player when they're about to play at Anfield against almost anybody does not sit right with me.
Yeah. But your question wasn't, should I sell a Liverpool player before Man United at home? It was, should I sell him for Saliba? I mean, Arsenal are just more solid defensively. I have more faith in Arsenal keeping a clean sheet at any given time. So that I would do.
Yeah, but then
again, is it for free? And is it something that I'm going to sit in on that transfer for 6 weeks or 7 weeks or what have you? I would rather own William Saliba for the rest of the season, let's say, than own Virgil van Dijk.
But the reason I use the Saliba example is a couple of key things here, like where Van Dijk is still over him. One, I think attacking with a threat. Also, even open play, like over the top to Salah, for example. Defcons, Van Dijk. I mean, Liverpool are ridiculously high in terms of number of clearances, and Van Dijk's going to have the most of that. He's nowhere near it at the weekend, only had 7 Defcons. And also rotation, in the sense, Van Dijk will never get left out. So there's still a lot of, when you break it down, there's still a lot of reason you say, yeah, there's a little bit there for Van Dijk over Saliba. I don't think that's quite the same way with Gabriel. Like, would I go if I didn't own Gabriel, would I go Van Dijk to Gabriel? Yes. But Saliba, I'm more hesitant. And Timber, I'd be more hesitant.
Well, look, he's 4 attacking returns a season for the last 3 seasons. It's always been the same with Van Dijk. So what does that mean? He's due because he hasn't had one yet, pretty much.
Well, he scored against Atletico in Champions League.
Yeah, but nothing in the league yet.
What's his XG?
0.2 so far. And 0.18 of that, so basically all of it, came in the Bournemouth game in Gamweek 1.
So actually, Van Dijk's not had an attempt on goal since the opening game of the season in the Premier League.
Nope.
Okay, interesting.
Moving to Saliba then.
No, again, it just doesn't particularly.
I wouldn't force it, but it's kind of every question. There's context, right?
No, and
is
it's
it for
like,
free? Is
it's
it
like
for
a
long
want
term?
and it's a need. So, like realistically, what do I if I go Saliba over Van Dijk? Truthfully, what do I truthfully expect to gain out of that? Oh, I think Saliba does a bit better. But yeah, probably. Is it worthwhile?
No.
When that transfer could be used for something else?
Not sure. Okay, let's move to the Sunday games. Aston Villa 2, Burnley 1. Nothing for Ollie Watkins or Waddy Watkins. I've seen him called as well online now. Morgan Rogers with the assist. It's Marlon that picks up the 2 goals. And what? Jaden Anthony, not part of the goal involvement for Burnley.
No,
what's going on
not,
here, James?
No.
Shout out Josh Cullen, 20 DEFCONs. 20 DEFCONs for him as well. That's a monster.
Yeah,
ball.
him and Florentino ticking over quite. Cullen nearly scored as well, actually, in the first half. Admittedly, it was an effort from distance. It looks like this 5-4-1 for Burnley is sticking. That said, next 2 fixtures, Leeds, Wolves. I'm intrigued to see if that changes a little bit. Because Burnley will want to be targeting points in these 2 games. And ultimately, if they win those two games, then that's way more defining than losing at Villa and some of the other games that they've lost, right? But it does feel like they probably can't afford to lose both of those two games. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
If you're on wild card this week, I think therefore Anthony really appeals. Leeds at home, Wolves away, and actually there's a trip to West Ham a few after that.
You can hide him on the bench as well if you don't need him.
Is he a bit expensive for that?
Yeah, with the value offered by maybe, I'd rather, for example, go to Ismail Assar or find a little bit extra to get Kudus or something like that. I just feel like
Do you know who he rotates quite nicely with
comfortable.
though, particularly in the near future, is King.
Okay.
So when Anthony has Arsenal at home and Chelsea at home, King has Wolves at home and Sunderland at home.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, it might be one people look at. I don't think it's going to be for me, but as I said last week, I think if we've got a player who feels like he's going to be talisman for someone, irrespective of their position in the league, we should consider it. And those who've gone Anthony, please don't sell with those next couple of fixtures coming up. I don't quite know what's happened with Ekdal. There'll be a small number of people. I've not seen anything on socials, but the commentator on Match of the Day last night said Ekdal had been omitted from the squad, which he said he's not injured. That something's potentially happened there. Twanzabi's come into the team. I don't think that's necessarily a downgrade for them, by the way, anyway. That's fine. He might be a new one to keep an eye on, Twanzabi, if he's going to stay in the team. Estev he was nowhere near out on DEFCONs yesterday, was he?
Let me check for you, James.
He had 5 or 4. 6,
yeah, he's not even close. He's Steve 6 in the end.
Whereas this is what I'm saying. It feels like the Sunderland guys, despite the tougher fixtures, probably are going to be in and around it quite a lot more.
Yeah, they do sit in deep. Not that Burnley don't sit in deep, but yeah.
For Villa, so looks like a bit of a switcher system, bit more of a 4-2-2-2 with Marlon closer to Ollie Watkins, and then Rodgers and McGinn as kind of the first line behind that. And then Bogard, who Lee Jackson said played really well in midfield alongside Kamara, who's played brilliant pass for Marlon's first goal. And I guess that was, I don't know if that's something that's designed in terms of dual threat because they knew that Burnley would basically play a back 5. So to give Watkins a bit of help in terms of potential running in behind, or if it's something we might see more often. I suspect anybody they were really concerned about in terms of wide areas, they would be maybe a bit more against that system. But Emery, we know, likes a 4-4-2 anyway. So in terms of structure off the ball, it's just a case of just drawing out from in your two kind of wide 10s to go into wide areas off the ball and then get themselves into more central zones on it. It's not too dissimilar to how they set up anyway, but we've seen them more with a 10 rather than a kind of second line of Marlon. Maybe it's to hide over a little bit of a creativity issue as well at the moment, in the sense no Sancho, Elliott's not played again, no Tielemans. So I don't know if it sticks. I think point being here, for those who were really strongly considering Daniel Marlon prior to game week 1 and we gave warnings, I'm going to give the same warnings out now. I wouldn't go chasing
points
that.
Chasing. Yeah, that would be absolutely would be points chasing in FPL at its finest.
I saw the FPL account was tweeting again about Morgan Rogers' latest haul of 5 points, like really clutching at straws there. Villa players generally are in the sell zone now, I think. That said, I will remind you who they're playing in game week 8. Thank you, Suj.
Tottenham.
And it's perfectly fine to keep. But with City and Liverpool after that as well, there's enough reason to come off now. And I think those who'd held Watkins are probably looking at maybe Gyokeres, although it seems like the community's gone cold on that. Maybe they'll look at an alternative. Maybe Watkins owners are now looking at Bowen. Maybe going into this week in terms of timing is a different one. And I think Rogers owners will be looking around at different players, be it Enzo Fernandez, the West Ham players, the Arsenal players, Minters, Gordons. I think you'll be looking around at different things. For someone like me who's got Consa, just leave it, innit?
Yeah.
Just leave it, probably. Like if I didn't have the wild card in pocket, I'd be thinking, right, I don't want him sitting there for another 20 weeks. I'm more inclined to deal with it. But yeah, for someone like me who's going to wild card fairly soon, I think it's just probably sit there and leave
Let it
him.
be.
Villa did play better, and we should note that there was a lot of question marks on them a couple of weeks ago. They've won the 4 games since. They've scored obviously 5 in the last 2 Premier League games, so that just instantly feels a lot better. The caveat I'd give to that at the same time, though, is Villa have only done what they should be doing over the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we'll have a better idea in terms of where their season really fits over these next 4: Tottenham, City, Liverpool, Bournemouth. It's a tough run.
Cool. Let's talk about Everton 2, Crystal Palace 1. I mean, we both said that we thought Palace were going to go there and win, and they dominated the first half. But it's what a new stadium need. Go on. Did you say a draw?
Yeah, mate.
Oh, okay, fair play. We were still wrong.
It's also true.
Listen,
I was right for 90 minutes, though, weren't I?
When you got a new stadium and you're kind of settling in, you need one of those. And when you're underdogs against a really good team like Crystal Palace, and you got your new star boy in Jack Grealish coming and scoring a 93rd minute winner, coming back from 1-0 down to win the game, is just what you need, isn't it? I bet the atmosphere was rocking. I did see our Everton correspondent Sean was down there and seemed to say it was limbs at the end and stuff, which is what you'd expect. And it's the two highly owned players from Everton outside of Tarkowski. And obviously Dewsbury Hall's like a bit of a bench filler, isn't he, really? But Grealish and Ndiaye that have picked up the returns as well.
Well,
popular picks.
Grealish is only going to be bench filling for people in game week 8 anyway, because obviously being eligible. Can't play the next fixture.
He is on loan. Dewsbury Hall 3.8. I'm blown away, James. I thought Dewsbury Hall was a much more popular bench filler. 3.8%. That's nothing.
What you see in the FPL community is very different to rest of bits. And actually, in seriousness, I think if you were buying a 5 million midfielder, and I don't think you pick Dewsbury Hall, it's
Xhaka all day long.
It's more something like that, or downgrade to King, or go up to one of the 5.5s. I agree. Presumably, Dewsbury Hall will come back in for Grealish. Might mean that you get Ndiaye off the left, possibly against City in the following game week. I suspect many of you might be looking at maybe even benching even assets like that. But certainly with Ndiaye on pens, I would recommend against benching him specifically. And he scored at the Etihad from open play last season as well. Do you want a brilliant stat on Everton, Suj? This is a mad one.
Yes.
So they've only won 3 of their last 31 home games when conceding first. Okay. All of them have been against Crystal Palace.
Wow. 3 times they've gone down to Palace and come back and won.
So 3 of their last 31 home games.
So that's over almost basically 2 seasons.
Where they've conceded first, they've come back and won. Each occasion was against Crystal Palace.
Wow.
That's quite bonkers. And this obviously ended Palace's run. I think the feeling amongst Palace fans is somewhat mixed, in the sense it is worth saying Palace could have been out of sight here, right? I think Mateta's miss after Sarr tried to go round Pickford. They had big opportunity. Mitchell hit
5 big chances for each team, though, James. So that's a lot.
Yeah,
10 in a game is a lot.
More the Everton stuff was nearer the end, right? So Palace should have been out of sight. But then the problem with Palace now is, welcome to Thursday, Sunday, kids, because the Palace theme on what happened at the end is they were tired. Like, Lacroix doesn't make that sort of tackle if he's not fatigued and kind of panicking in a moment. Maybe they don't allow Beto to get a free header in goal 6 yards out, and then Munoz like hash a clearance like straight at Grealish that goes in.
Yeah.
So they played really well, Palace. And Palace fans definitely shouldn't feel too down over the next couple of weeks. The 19-game unbeaten run is gone, but there are some good fixtures on the horizon soon. Bournemouth and Arsenal certainly a challenge in the next 2. Then there's a better run. They put themselves in a really good position. What Glasner's got to do, he's got to be a bit cuter about this rotation now. And now they've won that first game at Dynamo Kiev, they've got to strongly rotate in the Conference League. They've got to. You don't need to be picking the strongest 11. And they didn't pick the whole strongest 11. But the majority of that backline played in Poland against Kiev last week. Right, that needs changing moving forward in this group stage. Now you've won the away game, it will take care of itself. They would have no problem finishing top 8, even with a reserve team. So he's got to sort out the rotation element of that. For Everton, I think Evertonians are feeling quite a similar thing at the moment in terms of what Sean said to us on COTC last week. Like there is a real big onus on relying on the creativity from Ndiaye and Grealish, getting it into the wide areas, hoping that they do their bit. And obviously one of those players is taken out for the next game. The problem is as well, they don't really have the support in the fullback areas at the moment. So like O'Brien's done really well at right back. Mikalenko's been a really good servant for them. But it is clear as day that if Everton want to progress to being a team that stays in the top half like they currently are, they need something better in the fullback position to help those two boys ahead of it. And that's a weakness in the team at the moment. And I would look at Tottenham going there in game week 9 and think, yeah, Odegaard and Kudus, I would want them to play to try and pin them in even more. So that's an area of weakness. Jared Brantwaite is not too far away. May well nick Michael Keane's place in the near future. Nice little return for Tarkowski at the weekend. Bonus point and DEFCON after people were a bit meh. You'd take 5 points from conceding every week, wouldn't you?
Well, this is it, right? This is where the DEFCON defenders are proving themselves to be quite interesting because you can still pick up 4s and 5s even when you don't get your clean sheets.
And so, a note here on these two teams. All of Everton's back 4 picked up DEFCON in this fixture. And for Crystal Palace, the only defensive player from their back 5 and their midfield 2 who didn't pick up DEFCON was Mitchell, was 1 short. Both midfield players, Kamada and Wharton, and all the rest of the back 5 picked up DEFCON, which included Munoz on 16. Munoz at 1-0 was on for a mega haul, Suj. Yep. DEFCON, goal, clean sheet, top bonus. But no bonus at the end.
No, I was surprised how low his ownership was. I thought he was going to really hurt Munoz in terms of if he did end up with that haul. Well, 8 points for a defender is still very, very good. But it's only 12%. It's not didn't become the killer that I thought Munoz ownership might end up being. If I was wildcarding now, I'd be buying Ismaila Sarr.
Yes. Reasons not to maybe would be if I wanted to punt something else for 2 weeks before I went there, maybe. But yeah, I probably agree with you.
Just get it done. Yeah, I think his numbers are really good. He's leveling up like Semenyo has been this season. Right, should we go to St James's Park, James?
They'll be getting strongly looked at again, game week 10 after they've been to Arsenal.
So at St James's Park, Newcastle 6, Nottingham Forest 0.
Is that big chances, is it?
Yes. It's interesting. If you look at it on paper, possession was pretty even, 50-50, 51-49 in the game. Passes completed, 464 to 452. Pretty even, pretty similar if you look at it. Newcastle 6 big chances, 18 shots, 2 goals. Ange Ball is that, James, but you expect chances to come with it. There weren't any.
Okay, can we break those stats down a bit more into, say, second half?
Yeah.
Because Forest have had 54% of the ball second half, and I'm sure
all of their XG was the second half, basically. And all of that XG was like,
it's 2 shots. I've seen them last night. It's like Nico Williams and Hudson-Odoi are shitty little shots, like straight into Pope, basically. So they've had 54% of the ball. A lot of that is possibly game state, so Gimres scores after 58 minutes. But Newcastle have had an XG of nearly 3 in that same half, which I know includes a penalty. 5 big chances to 0.
Yeah,
I've never seen this story before, so honestly. It's like I'm really sorry to say this, but it's nice watching someone else live through it.
Yeah, it's painful, to be honest with you. He is favourite with the bookies now to lose his job next, right?
Yeah, I think what we'd have to say is in terms of him, and I don't think there's any guarantee that he manages the Chelsea game after the international break, is we know now from the way Marinakis has worked that it will be Ange's sacked, different manager 12 hours later, basically. So I don't think we could even get to Friday and think, Ange hasn't been sacked, he's safe now. Who knows with them, right? I suspect he probably is going to stay. and get the chance to do these games. But like speaking to different fans of different clubs at the weekend, it's like, oh, I don't want him to get sacked yet. We ain't played them yet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when you hear that, and I heard these things when
And
people
this
were
is a team
about to
that
play
one of the
my team.
hardest.
Like he's quite
Yeah.
hurtful,
Yeah.
and that at the weekend, like that's not even that's not his team. He's
Yeah.
gone 5-4-1 basically. He's not stopped them conceding a shitload of chances. Um, the idea of after Arsenal was like, right, yeah, now we're going to show you like not what Ange Ball's about, but we're going to get our principles in really quickly. But then principles aren't showing through, and that because of the magnitude of if I might lose again, he's resorted to a lot of the stuff he did in the Europa League run with Tottenham, which don't get me wrong worked, but Tottenham did still have a very strong back four. Forest without Murillo, individually, defensively, that ain't good enough. Not in Ange's system anyway. So I think if you ask most people now, if you said to most people, Ange will say to the end of the season, where do you think Forest will finish? I think most people would say bottom three.
I'd say there's a very strong risk of relegation. Very strong risk. Because I think West Ham will get better. I think the promoted teams are doing well. I think Brentford will still pick up wins and points here and there with a bit of consistency. For them, yeah, it's not looking good.
One of two things happens here. It either changes really soon, and really soon doesn't necessarily mean during this international break, but it's there's games coming up where it feels like it might be inevitable. Or to get it right, something happens. They beat Chelsea, and it might only take something like that, like a one result like that, and then okay, we've got a bit of like self belief into what's happening and stuff. I I have no
Okay,
idea if
then
he's going to manage the next game.
which do you think it's going to be of those two?
I don't feel like, but it's probably. I imagine most Forest fans thought they would probably get a tank in this weekend, and 2-0
Yeah.
isn't like not the worst. You know, you lose 2-0 at Newcastle can happen to anybody. Like I get it. So I don't think the noise from Forest fans feels as big as it felt like after Midtjylland and Sunderland and like what is this? So this weekend would have been an expectation. It's really tough, but what it might change into now is apathy because next is Chelsea, so it's like expect nothing. Bournemouth away, expect nothing. United. So you now turn into, oh, he's pissed me off. We haven't hit expectation to now having an apathy, like I did a lot last season, just accepting that you're going to get beat. I think they'll change soon.
Newcastle kept 5 clean sheets in 7.
Yeah.
Should we be getting a Newcastle defender? Let me ask you a question. You asked me Van Dijk. Would you sell him for Saliba? Would you sell him for Dan Burn
No,
or Botman
no,
or any of them? No.
no.
Their fixtures, though, up for quite a long period are okay. You've got Brighton, Fulham, West Ham, Brentford. All right, then City, though it is at
But
St. James.
then it's good again.
Everton, Tottenham, Burnley, Sunderland. Like that's a really, really good run.
Yep, it's
Where
sustained.
5.1 saves you a bit of money, mate.
It does, yeah, but I don't really want to waste a transfer on doing something like that personally.
On wildcard,
If I was to go concert up to again, if I'd already used that wild card and you're saying, oh, concert to Burn or something, yeah, sure, but just take a step back. Does that really want to where you want to use your transfer?
on wildcard, would you do it?
On wild card, yeah, there's every
Pick one
chance something to go in. Every
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
Probably because it's a good long sustained run.
Yeah, and
That's
5
fine.
million now with the current prices of certain defenders, it seems all right.
I mean, they've probably even, I'm just looking all the way down, probably even in January, they've probably got the best set of fixtures. So it's a long sustained. I know they've got a lot of home games coming up. So some of even the more difficult ones, so that they've got over, say, like the next 10, like City, Tottenham, Chelsea, you might put into that category. They're all at St. James's. So
Yeah.
it's nothing to shit yourself about. So yeah, perfectly reasonable. I think Burn probably would be the safest one to go with. Is a case to say just go for Pope if you're on wild card at the moment. The only
Yeah,
thing
what
with
price
Pope,
is Pope?
the only thing with Pope
5.1.
is he's a little bit like Allison in the sense there probably will be an injury at some point, but then I guess that's what Dubravka's for if that's what happens. Um, Lewis Hall didn't play yesterday because of a hamstring problem that needs monitoring. Because what I would say is if you've got a period of time where I think Hall and Livramento are both out, I don't think that's great for Newcastle.
No.
that leaves it, I think, quite flat offensively and might make them a little bit predictable in the sense of making teams sit off them a little bit more. But the midfield three and the front three, when they're at it and firing, are good, right? They're good.
Any love for Voltemade on wild card as well?
I don't
Well,
mind it
he
at
is in the
all.
top. You mentioned five strikers earlier:
Yeah,
Pedro,
yeah, I'll put him in
Haaland,
it.
Bowen, Gyokeres, Voltemade. Those are the ones that are of interest. We know he's on pens now. We know he can head a ball now because he scored two headed goals, 3 goals in four when you just arrived in the league is good.
I think ultimately bias from me, right? I've got Pedro, Bowen, and Haaland, and that very much feels like it could be a wild card free. So if I was on wild card personally, I don't think I'd be looking to chop that up. Just psychologically, I'd be looking more, say, at Gordon, who obviously wasn't on the pitch when Voltemade took the penalty. What's a penalty, by the way? Like he's
Mm,
completely unsavable. Those who invested in Gordon, I don't think should go running from that. I mean, ultimately as well, Barnes has come on for him. Barnes had chances towards the end as Forest opened up more. If Gordon doesn't go off the pitch, those are maybe Gordon's chances. Maybe it was his penalty. I don't know. Could be a little bit like Arsenal where they're going to change it up.
yeah,
Not sure. And obviously, he's Burns' assist for Bruno Guimaraes' goal and assist from Guimaraes. He'll tick over, but I don't think you're going to be looking at that
no,
at the
no,
moment. I'd just be a little bit concerned about Newcastle in the sense of if Hall's out for a while, and I know he's not been playing anyway, it does just feel a bit flatter. I think and some of the fixtures coming up, teams will look at them like Fulham, and to be honest, we have to put West Ham in this category now. We'll look at them more and say, right, what you got? And it might be that Newcastle find those sort of fixtures quite challenging. We normally do. I mean, lost time to Fulham last year as an
yeah,
example of that. But yeah, I think if you're on wildcard, you're looking at them. But I think most who wanted to buy probably did it last week. We'll see what
yeah.
Sai says on COTC this week. I don't think Mark will be recommending any Forest assets on COTC next week.
If I was on wildcard, I would consider getting rid of Gyokeres for Voltemade and getting Saka in for Bruno Fernandes. That I would rather that combination of Saka and Voltemade than Bruno and Gyokeres, which
I
is what
like
I've got right
I
now.
like that structure more anyway. I've
Mm,
said this, like I'm concerned when I see teams and their highest priced player is Semenyo.
yeah,
It just concerns me a little bit if the game changes up. Oh shit, I do want Saka or Fernandez or Foden or life becomes a little bit difficult. So I prefer that structure set up with Saka. And I know there's a lot of talk within the community at the moment about forwards are a bit shit and stuff. I think there's 4 or 5 really good options this week for forwards to carry on for a number of weeks, and Voltemade's within that conversation.
good.
Chris Wood is
Okay,
not.
no. This is about Wolves one, Brighton one. We'll get to the robot in the Brentford Man City game. 1-1 in the end. Your goalkeeper letting in scoring an own goal. Um, yeah, odd one as well. Not like a deflection that then he doesn't know or rebounds in or whatever. It was like, oh, okay, he's
When I
gonna
first
be.
saw it, I thought, what a save. He's so unlucky
Yeah,
there. And then when I saw a few replays, I thought, hmm, I think you want to be getting that over the bar personally. But anyway, whatever.
mm,
That's just bitter owner, probably me. Good old Bart, man. Yeah, I'm sitting here quite pleased that Lucas Perry's getting back to fitness, I think. Yeah.
yeah. But 1-1 in the end, and Wolves picking up another point at home.
It's probably a lesson here in terms of just investing in Brighton. This is the problem, and I tipped Wolves to win on Friday. It's just so Jekyll and Hyde, mate.
Yeah.
And I know they could have ultimately gone on to win this game. I don't think they were helped by Mitoma's absence. I'd said to you, I thought if Mitoma was out, it was a chance Minter might end up playing on the left, which is essentially what's happened here. Wolves played a back four again, and also again, like they did at Tottenham, moved towards a back three. It didn't have the desired effect this time, though, probably in the sense that they were winning the game. It just meant that they got deeper and deeper and weren't able to press Brighton in the way that they were able to press Tottenham. I think Brighton's fixtures coming up, particularly for the attacking players, are pretty good. But the only one to consider right now, in my opinion, is Minter. That's the one to go and have a strong look at. If I was on wildcard this week, I'd really, really be looking at that. I think it'll have inconsistencies, but he'll do all right if you look at him as a longer term hold. You might find that he performs better in some of the tougher fixtures, as they do as a team as well. Interesting talking about forwards. Larson's got Sunderland and Burnley in the next two, and we'd like not putting him in the category at the moment.
Not putting any Wolves in any category at the moment, James. I just don't want any Wolves assets.
They've obviously chopped up the team quite a lot. So Toti Gomez missed out with illness, but don't think would have played anyway. Agbadu's come out the team recently as well, and I know a few were loaned in for DEFCON purposes, definitely not for clean sheet purposes. But I feel like they could take another bad result somewhere else and it all changes again. It feels a bit like that at the moment. So yeah, no huge will to want to have to look at either of these two teams. They defend the equalising goal so badly as well. Wolves. There's two Van Hex one. There's two Brighton players. I think Shimes had come on at that stage. There's two Brighton players who could end up scoring now. Not a terrible result for either. Wolves have probably got to win one of the next two at least, though, it feels like.
Cool. Let's wrap by talking about Brentford 0, Manchester City 1. I don't know what we do with Pep now. Like after their win last week, and they're like, yeah, Jeremy Doku so good against low blocks, and he's exactly what we need against low blocks. And yeah, he's been playing so well, and then he just drops him. When guess what? You come up against a low block. Yeah, Bob back in the team. Savinho out to the left. Foden's run of scoring at the G Tech comes to an end. But Mr. Robot, Erling Haaland, I think I checked when he scored his goal. I think he'd had like 5 touches at the ball. One of them was a goal. Ends the game with 23 touches only. It's just, yeah.
That's a lot for him, isn't it?
X-touch. Yeah, he is back. Good win. The scoreline probably flatters Brentford a little bit, to be honest with you, doesn't it?
Brentford never laid a glove in the first half. And then I think City have this now where if a game isn't secure away from home, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper. It's been going on for nearly a year now with City. And understand why, because the run they had this time last year. I've been watching them at Leicester on, I think, Boxing Day last year. And Leicester had real chances against them. City was sitting off 1-0 up. This is different. It's been like this for a long time in away games for City where they're only one up and they just sit off and get deeper and deeper and deeper. And Brentford were there to be put away in the first half. On Doku, you know, what's the saying about fool me once, fool me twice, or like, I'm not surprised, boss. So Savinho has been injured for the start of this season, and he, by all accounts, sounded like he wanted to leave. I think he's agreed a new contract now. I'm sure within that there's some sort of promise in terms of minutes. We think Oscar Bobb's never going to play as well. We've got like Marmoush and Cherky going to be back probably after this international break. Just avoid it all. Avoid it all. I think if you've got a City asset, you probably hold him for Everton at home and then reassessing afterwards. I think those who went for Foden were probably doing it for 3 weeks with a knowledge that that might turn into Saka or something different in a few weeks. Again, I'd probably stick for it for the Everton game. Everton are going to really struggle to keep the ball with Grealish being absent, just because he absorbs so much. So you can expect City to dominate that game. We would anyway. I wouldn't be moving it on. But yeah, don't cut corners with I want City assets. It's the same all the time, every single year. City got great fixtures. I want 3 of them. And so often it's just worthwhile making sure you got the best of it and not bothering with anything else.
And the best Haaland.
The best of it's the guy up front.
Any defensive?
Guardiola's obviously having a little bit of a run at the moment, and I think his returns are a bit hidden because he's missed a few games at the start of the season. He actually assisted very similarly. Haaland's first goal in Monaco was a very similar pass to actually the goal yesterday. But I did have a little look before we'd started at Vardiol's kind of underlying, like, is he looking a threat from set plays or anything? Because obviously he's playing centre back. Nope, it's not worthwhile.
DEFCON was against Arsenal, where obviously they took the lead early and then were sitting in deep and defending quite a lot. So
you ain't going to see that too often. Although that Ruben Diaz did hit DEFCON yesterday. There's a case to say that the most interesting one at the moment would be Nico O'Reilly, but Ait-Nouri's back. So, like, who's going to take that chance? And I have seen there's a few people asking me last week about what to do with Ait-Nouri. Oh, he might be back after the international break. I said to him, I don't think there's any reason not to think that O'Reilly won't keep playing. I I'd be binning it. Fixtures are about to get tougher. City sit second bottom on my ticker over the next 5. I'd be binning most things, certainly defensively, not in 8, but pretty soon afterwards. Haaland is obviously a different animal.
What's your thoughts on Reinders as well? Reinders
is a bit different because it's so cheap.
Mm.
And we should acknowledge things like the assist at Arsenal. So maybe in games where there's a little bit more space, he'll show up a bit better. And he had a really good effort yesterday that was well saved by Kelleher.
Yep.
So I mean, Reinders is different. If you're on Foden and that he's blanked after Everton, he's blanked in 3, you're like, I need to move that. Reinders, presumably anyway, you put in anyway because you were in most cases thinking it was a longer term hold. That said, I think you'll get to things like, say, Brighton playing Leeds in 10 and having Brentford at home in 12 and start thinking, I wonder if I can get from Reinders to Minso, and these sort of moves might start appealing. But I think Reinders is a longer term is perfectly fine if people want to keep hold of it. But you wouldn't go chasing any Man City now.
If I was in wildcard, I'd be selling Reinders.
I think there's half a case to sell Haaland. I think there's a small number of people. I won't be doing it, by the way. There's a small number of people who look at it and go, "Yeah, this is now my opportunity to go and get like 2 Arsenal attackers or something." And timing wise, feels better than it did last week. But he won't struggle for space even against an opponent like Everton if the ball is right. I mean, that goal yesterday is brilliant. Did you hear him describe it himself? Proper goal, that.
No, I didn't.
He did an interview after the game. He said, "Yeah, it's proper goal, that." As in the fact that he's got to fight for it, and he loved it. He proper dug out Van den Berg because Van den Berg had shoved him after like a minute, and Haaland said, yeah, it made me motivated for the game. As if like, yeah, don't piss about it, mate. He thanked his son for meaning that he goes home and he's not like obsessing over football and stuff. He looks quite happy at the moment. He feels free. His fitness looks absolutely fine. He's definitely not got a hunchback problem or anything. He'll probably go and score 5 for Norway over the international break. And anybody was thinking of not captaining him in game week 8 will probably still do so off the base of that. So he'll be my captain in 8 as long as he returns fit. On Brentford, just a quick note.
Just 9 goals in 7 games as well.
Yeah, but it did, this time last year, it did calm down a lot as well. But I think he looks better. I know he looked great in the first half of last season, but I think he looks better. He looks freer in the mind, I think. And also I think very importantly in terms of a difference between this season and last season, City are playing into his strengths more. Those 2 passes that Vardy was played for him for the goal yesterday and the goal in Monaco, just not City passes. To bypass a midfield, they're not lumps upfield, right? Vardy was carrying over the halfway line into the final third, little dinked ball in behind. But you just don't normally see those passes. You know it's going to go in shorter. So they're playing to his strengths more. And for them to have a chance of getting near Arsenal, they've got to. Because the one difference with City to the others is obviously him and what he can provide from a numbers perspective is silly. I just wanted to say on Brentford, the DEFCONs, because I've been screaming about Van den Berg quite a lot, the DEFCONs have completely dried up for them. And yesterday, Collins was only a 5 and Van den Berg, I think, was 2.
Oh, wow.
And that's despite them playing a back 3. Christopher Scher was another centre-back, got 7. No Brentford player on DEFCON. Now, I think that led into a lot of them just completely sitting off in the first half. But from previously thinking, yeah, Van den Berg would probably be a shoo-in for me on wildcard in 13. That might need reassessing because I don't care how cheap he is. If I'm getting a player in at that sort of value, they've got to be half decent for DEFCON, I think. So I'll be monitoring that in the next few weeks.
Cool. Right, international break for a couple of weeks, so we can chill on the transfers. Although, like you've mentioned, so many players are dropping out of the kind of international break.
Yeah, there's a few this morning I've seen. Reece James is one. We shouldn't be surprised.
No. Right, should we cover off some of the questions on social media, James?
Go on.
Okie dokie. If you were on some of these questions, obviously, is an A or B, or also if you were on wildcard. FPL Classico, would you get Enzo or Caicedo right now? Enzo's like the best part of $1 million more, but open play threat versus DEFCONs, I feel, is this debate. Enzo is on penalties whilst Cole Palmer's not around.
So
we think
with me, I feel like I've missed the Casado returns.
Yeah,
Personally,
I'm with you on that.
I feel like I've missed it. Like, great, and it's not to tell anybody to come off, but I'm like, because you know that he'll have a couple in the double digits a season where he scores, and I'm like, it's gone. It feels like I don't see that massively continuing. He actually didn't hit DEFCON at the weekend, and it's a game I very much would have expected him to get him in. I think let's see what happens with Palmer. But I think if Palmer's going to be unavailable for a while, and I suspect he probably is going to be, then I think Enzo Fernandez becomes really interesting. So I think as a consequence, as a non-owner, I'd be wanting to go to Enzo Fernandez at the moment, even for the extra. And I also feel like with him, if it didn't work, if I was running through and I got to game week 13 and it's like, that didn't work, then I can move it on. Whereas Casado, like, he's staying. Casado is irrelevant to the fixtures, basically.
Yep. Cool. Raki says, why did FPL Towers limit DEFCON to 2 only, as opposed to 2 for every 10, for example, for defenders, or 12 for midfielders? Would that have made it more interesting?
I mean, we're kind of rocking about with like 1 player a week, roughly getting to 20. It was Mavropanos might have been the only one this week. So, and there'd be no point making it like 24 for midfielders or something. Not gonna. Josh Cullen hit 20 as well this week, by the way. Just having a scan through, and obviously I presume Ballard would have hit 20 if he'd played the whole game. But yeah, you're impacting 1 player a week.
Yep,
that doesn't really matter.
Right, a lot of Arsenal questions we've kind of sort of answered here.
Clayton and I will talk Arsenal quite a bit on the Clayton James show.
Good, yeah, because predominantly the questions, James, there are like, would you go triple Arsenal defence, Raya, Gabriel, Timber, or is it Saka versus Gyokeres and double defence and the keeper? I mean, we've talked about it, but I think people still are debating it. I don't know if I'm convinced. Like, if I was wildcarding just to be different, maybe I would go triple defence, Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to get to the stage pretty quickly where you're going to need 2 to make gain on it. Unless you're 1 scores, for example.
Yeah. Cool. Anything on Blue Sky? Or we're good?
Oh, didn't even give it a fault, Suj, which is terrible of me because of the FPL SK on wildcard this way. Any thoughts on more money in defence and or 4-5 at the back? So many defenders scoring points this year. Thank you.
There are a lot more defenders scoring points this season, but then if you look at the you've got Timber and Gabriel, Arsenal be doing particularly well. Senesi on the DEFCONs and Gahey follow that, who've also picked up attacking returns. Dan Burn, Calafiori after that pick up attacking returns. Aldereti's picks up attacking returns. I think we just had more attacking returns from these defenders at the start of the season than maybe we would normally have.
Yeah, it's worth remembering that. Those, if you look at, say, top 4 defenders, Timber, Gabriel, Senesi, Gay, all attacking. So even Dan Burns had one yesterday, and Newcastle have been great defensively, but not regularly going to have 5 out of 7 clean sheets. So it's interesting how you sell that, right? As an example, right? Dan Burns got 2 more points than Jadon Anthony. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong here, okay? But I do feel like there's a lot of, there's so many more defenders doing more points than attacking players at the moment. Yeah, but there is still an influence here. What you said, Calafiori is another one scored at Old Trafford, game 1, right? You still need these attacking returns from the defenders to hit the top end of them. Yeah, of course. And ultimately, in the longer term, many of these guys, like maybe even Gabriel, Timber, Senesi, Gay, if they don't provide attacking returns and they're regularly going to be, 4 points per match or something, they will get jumps by forwards that then go on runs. So I've seen people talking about going 4-5-1s, 5-4-1s at the moment. There is no way, if I was wildcarding now, that I would not have 3 forwards. Absolutely no way. Pedro, Bowen, Gyokeres, Voltemade, Haaland are all exceptional options for the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. So I'll be going 3 of them.
Cool. Right, we'll wrap this episode of Planet FPL. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure wherever you are listening to the podcast, subscribe. If you want to leave us a review, That would be very welcome as well. Hit the notification bell on YouTube. Other than that, though, most importantly, stay safe, look after yourselves, enjoy the international break. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please. Match up.